All right.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the RPGBOT.Podcast. I'm Randall James, and with me is Tyler Kamstra.
Hi, everybody.
And Ash Eli.
Change is good?
Maybe? Well, it's inevitable for one thing.
I mean, no, because previously when we talked about the 2024 rules, we're like, no, change bad. Change good? I don't know. Remains to be seen.
Okay, not that we're going to dwell on 2024 rules. I feel like for the most part, change has been good. The biggest bummer has been it's like change could have been better.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like it's like this is good, but like we paid a lot for this, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
God, we really did. As a culture, as a hobby.
We were promised more sweeping changes, and instead we got tweaks.
All right.
So you could argue is the same thing here, I guess.
Let's remind folks where we're at. So tonight we're going to be talking about the Pathfinder 2 Player Core 2. And you might be thinking, if you haven't been paying attention, I've never heard all of those words put together in that sequence. Let's talk about what's happened. Let's remind folks at home. So the original Pathfinder 2nd edition, we had the core rulebook, and then later on we had the Advanced Player's Guide come out. After the OGL fiasco of 2023, Paizo made the decision to separate itself from WotC's OGL completely. And so they decided to go back through their books and remove from Pathfinder 2 all of the content that would require it to be linked to the OGL. And so what have we had come out this year? We had the Player Core come out. We had the GM Core come out. We had the Monster Core come out. And now, practically a replacement of the Advanced Player's Guide, we have the Player Core 2. And tonight we're going to talk about what's in it, the changes that you might anticipate when you open the book that you're going to find, and overall what we think of the changes that have been made.
Yeah. All right. So I got lucky at Gen Con this year and ran into the head of rules and lore at Paizo. I had questions about the remaster process ongoing and whether or not they were going to remaster other stuff. And he talked to me about some stuff that had been done in Player Core 2 in the broader design, like sweeping changes that they've gone through in the remaster, as opposed to like minute, I changed this feat, yada, yada. So some things he called out with Player Core 2 especially, they're leaning more on the mechanic where like a proficiency in a weapon changes steps. So like you take a feat and a weapon goes from advanced to martial or from martial to simple. Like they're leaning more heavily on that, and that's fixing a bunch of pain points from existing legacy content. There's more things in Player Core 2 that will automatically scale as you gain levels. So like if you gain armor proficiency from an archetype, instead of having to later take another feat, it'll just automatically scale. So it's like those little quality of life improvements that are already taking advantage of mechanics that are already in the game. Essentially, it made things both easier to play and it made them easier for the designers to design. Like everything's much more consistent. It works better together. Just in general, like as the remaster continues to evolve, the content is getting better and better, and the designers are fixing more and more of these like wider pain points within the game. And we'll see that like acutely in places as well.
Yeah, that's what you want to see from a remaster.
All right, so let's look at what's actually in this book, because there's quite a bit. Randall, like you said, this is in large part a rehash of the Advanced Player's Guide. Now, they did shuffle the classes because they shuffled what was in Player Core 1. Let's see, so Ancestries, Catfolk, Hobgoblin, Kobold, Lizardfolk, Ratfolk, Tango, Kolo, which formerly known as Gnolls, and Tripkey, formerly known as Gripply. I think Gnolls came out of D&D. I don't know about Gripply.
I don't think Gnolls is trademarked, because if it is, then Blizzard is going to get sued because Gnolls are in World of Warcraft, and they have been since the very beginning.
Yeah.
I don't know, but maybe they're just covering their bases.
Yeah, if they weren't married to the idea of having gnolls, it makes a lot of sense to me to just say, like, we're just going to separate ourselves. We're going to leave. Nothing that they could point at and say, it's like, well, we had gnolls in a TTRPG first. No, we're done.
I think it's also maybe a decision to make them more distinct from their original incarnation. Yeah, like Steph says, it's to disassociate them from the evil demon hyena monster. So, yeah, it's because when you think of gnolls, you think of horrible, evil hyenas. They're more multifaceted in the remasters. They're more nuanced in the remaster. Like they're not like just always chaotic evil anymore. They have their own goals and ideas in society.
What's chaotic evil, Ash?
Right. You know what I mean.
Sanctified unholy?
Sure, whatever. But yeah, they're moving away from just and D&D is doing the same of just blankly classifying the entire humanoid species as just always evil. And so I think that's probably why they rebranded it.
They also feature Kolo. They feature Kolo pretty heavily in the Mwangi Expanse, which is inspired by African fantasy. So Kolo may just be a more like African adjacent name than Gnoll.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
It fits the in-universe lore a little better. I don't know about Tripkey. That one, not a clue.
Yeah,
I mean,
but they are cute.
That one is trademarked.
Yes.
Gripply are a WotC invention. So yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I want to play a Rainforest Frog, and I'm very excited about it.
All right. We also got some versatile heritages. Dampier and Duskwalker both got remastered, and we got a new versatile heritage, the Dragon Blood. People are very excited for this one. Like, Galarian doesn't have a draconic humanoid race ancestry, unless you count kobolds. So Dragon Blood now lets us, we want to be a dragon in the not dragon game. Honestly, it's also just a really good versatile heritage. Like, this will work in a ton of builds. It's got a ton of cool stuff to offer. Flight, damage resistances, breath weapons, like all of the dragon fantasy things. They're all there. It feels real good.
So for folks who maybe aren't as familiar, I think we've talked about Dampiers on the podcast a couple times. That's comfortable to folks. You just did a great job explaining Dragon Blood. What is the Duskwalker?
They're a plane-touched versatile heritage that's been touched by the Shadow Plane, I believe. It has fallen out of my brain right this second.
Weren't they were something else. Quicklings or crap, I can't remember what they were called.
Hang on, I'm pulling up the PDF. My brain is a sieve. I spent all day reading these books, and all of the information fell out. Ancient Bargain, your soul has been reborn as a Duskwalker, a planar scion with a connection to Psychopomps in the Boneyard. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. So Psychopomps are the spirits, the outsiders responsible for shepherding the souls of the dead. The Boneyard is Pharasma, god of death. Like, that is her domain where she judges the souls of the dead and sends you on to your afterlife.
Think the Grim Reaper or Anubis as Psychopomps, like the manifestations of death that take you to the afterlife, but aren't the actual gods of death.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Okay, so they pop up and they're like, you're not dead yet now. And like, boom, there you are.
Something like that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. And then I think what folks are really excited to talk through are classes.
Yes.
Yep.
Man. Some classes changed very, very little, and they're probably the ones that you would expect, like the ones that everybody liked. And then the classes that people have been complaining about forever got huge, huge changes. So
let's start with the big one, yeah? Alchemist.
Yeah, actually, humor me for a second. Let's go breath. Okay. Let's tell folks what's in the book, and then we'll dive deep into each of the classes. Sounds good?
Yeah. Okay. Classes: Alchemist, Barbarian, Champion, Investigator, Monk, Oracle, Sorcerer. So 7 classes.
Swashbuckler.
Man, I knew that. 8 classes. I can count, and also I can operate a scroll wheel.
No, you can't.
True. So we got the ancestries. We got 8 updated classes. There's a bunch of general feats, a bunch of skill feats, a bunch of spells. Like, all the content that was in the Advanced Player's Guide basically is here. Updated, refreshed, all those things. Some of it is just straight copy pasted from the Advanced Player's Guide, because like, hey, if it's not broken, don't fix it. A lot of things have had minor tweaks. A lot of things have gotten quality of life improvements. It would take months to find the exact word for word changes and everything. So we're not going to do that. But I think folks are going to be happy with everything that's in here. It's a good chunky book with a lot of good content.
Yeah. All right,
Awesome.
let's
Let's get into
talk about let's talk about the one that everybody was waiting for, Alchemist.
Alchemist. Okay. All right. So I have built several alchemists for people, and my experience building and like theory crafting alchemists is that most of the time when you're playing an alchemist, the most efficient use of your abilities is to build a bunch of items, give them to someone more capable than you, and then go home.
Or just wait outside the combat. Like, don't try to help.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, this was mitigated in Pathfinder 1 with the fact that no one else could use your infusions unless you took a specific feat. So it's like, you can't give them to someone else. That's your entire feature, is you using these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess according to Tyler for PF2, if they couldn't give them to someone else, then they would strictly be worse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's worth saying this is going to be a common pattern we're going to do for each of the classes. We'll talk through kind of what were the pain points in the original PF2 class. We'll talk about what's new, and maybe by the end of it, we'll say like, hey, maybe some of these things were addressed. In some cases, maybe not everything was.
I will say I have built a alchemist in Pathfinder 2. They were a chirurgeon. How are the
chirurgeon, I think.
However,
I don't know.
I think it's I'm pretty sure it's chirurgeon, something like that. I don't remember exactly. The reason I know this is because they say that word in Final Fantasy, so I know I'm in the realm.
No, okay, we're taking Steph. Steph in the chat says Healy Boy. That's what they are now.
Boy,
yes.
Sure.
So you both of you Healy Boys. Keep going.
But yeah, the main problem with them is their healing is kind of ass. And they don't get a lot of healing stuff. The problem with them is that, like you said, their whole shtick is they just make health potions that they then just give to people. It's just like, cool, we could have just got these. So when you're in combat, the chirurgeon's just like, drink your health potions, guys.
Yeah.
It's the Ovaltine guy just running around.
Yeah, just remember to drink your health potions, guys. It's not fun. I wanted a thing like maybe a weapon that infuses someone with like healing. Like that could be cool, but sadly, no. So I realized that subclass in particular is pretty memed on, but I was just trying to make an NPC companion for a low-level party that only had 2 people in it, and I wanted a healer for them. And I realized pretty quick that this healer was doing more harm than good, so I changed him to an oracle, and that actually, surprisingly, worked better.
Yeah.
But at least, like, if you have an alchemist on the party, you have somebody to do crafting outside of combat, and that's exciting, right?
Yeah, and they were intelligence based, so they were okay at it, and they're trained for free.
Yeah.
One dumb joke, and then we'll move on from beating on the chirurgeon. On our optimization guides for the Legacy Alchemist, I described the chirurgeon as a vending machine that dispenses off-brand tonic water.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Nailed it. Yeah.
When it was published, the only alchemical healing items were anti-venom, antitoxin, the anti-disease one.
Quinine.
Anti-plague is what it's called.
Antitoxin, anti-plague, elixir of life. And it was those 3 items, and only those 3 until we got Treasure Vault. Years the chirurgeon was absolutely useless. And then we finally got Treasure Vault, and Mutagenist just does its job better.
Yeah. Although, okay, still, if you were out there handing out gin and tonics in the middle of combat to make sure that people didn't get like Galarian malaria, that's
Galarian malaria.
It sucks because I did build an alchemist in Pathfinder 1, and man, I don't know what about it is better, but it's just better. Like so in Pathfinder 1, you can take archetypes are different than they are in Pathfinder 2, where it's just like every class has a bunch of archetypes that just fundamentally change the class. So I was a brewmaster. So basically, my infusions would have some sort of alcoholic component to them, and it was great. Basically, it was just I played this monkey girl named Rum, who was just mixing cocktails in the middle of battle, which is why I think it's funny that Randall brought up gin and tonic, because that's exactly what she was doing. Explosive gin and tonic.
Delta in the chat is telling us it is a hard CH like chiropractor. So chirurgeon. Ash, you were right.
I told you I was right.
Delta, thanks for the save. All right. where were we? Done picking on
I think
corrosion.
we've beaten it. We've beaten the whole thing to death, right?
Yeah.
So they chain.
Okay. One more issue that the Legacy Alchemist had. So infused reagents, like that was the pool of resources that your alchemist had to run on every day. So you would get your level plus your intelligence modifier infused reagents, and you can use those to make items every day. If you made items that fit your subclass, you got 2. So like bombers would get 2 bombs per reagent if you built them at the beginning of the day. But a lot of the time you were using them with quick alchemy to build an item on the fly that made sense right then. Now it got you like your max level items, which is great. But since you had so few of them, it was like spell slots. You'd run through them very, very quickly. But like wizard, sorcerer, cleric, like spellcasters, you maybe cast 1 leveled spell per turn. So your spell slots will scale enough that they last an entire adventuring day. If you're an alchemist, like if you're a bomber, you could be throwing 3 bombs around and you could go through all of your resources in 1 or 2 fights.
Yeah.
And often to very little effect. The alchemist proficiency scaling with weapons was as good as the wizards. So
that's not good.
No. So they could never hit with their bombs.
Yeah.
Like just throwing them for splash damage.
Previously, the things that made Alchemist viable in Pathfinder 1 was they could replicate spells in their reagents and their, like, essentially you had formulas, but they were essentially like spell slots. Like you just had spells that you could combine to make different concoctions, which I'm surprised they just moved away from in Pathfinder 2.
Yeah. I think they wanted to feel a little more unique than, oh, look, another spell list.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so now let's look at the changes. So, people who have played an Alchemist pre-remaster, infused reagents are gone, kind of.
Hooray!
Hooray, question mark? Instead of just infused reagents, you now have 2 separate pools. You have
4 plus intelligence infused items.
Yeah. Okay, I shouldn't say your infused reagents are gone. Those are still there. You do still have infused reagents, but they work very different. In addition, you have versatile vials. Infused reagents you use at the beginning of the day to craft items that last all day. So not quick alchemy, essentially. So if you're creating bombs, healing potions, things that you know you're going to use in a day, infused reagents. Versatile vials are your expendable resource. Those you're going to use with quick alchemy most of the time, or you can just throw the vials as an acid bomb, which is like your primary go-to attack option. Very importantly, like you don't get a ton of these. It's 2 plus your intelligence modifier. So like that's not going to last you all day.
Nope.
But they recharge.
Oh,
and
how do they recharge?
The way the recharge is actually fantastic. So just 10 minutes outside of combat, you get 2 back. So for every 10 minutes outside of combat, you get 2 back. And the rules are very specific. You can do other exploration activities while this is happening. So it is basically, as long as you are not going back to back to back in combat, these things are going to come back. You basically get to treat it like going into each combat session, your versatile vials are reset.
Yeah.
That's quite nice.
Let's see. So you can use, like, versatile vials are a big thing. Every subclass has a feature called field vials, which gives you something unique that you can do with your versatile vials. And it makes sense for the subclass. Like, bomber can make their versatile vials deal like any of the bomb damage types, fire, cold, lightning, whatever, instead of just doing acid. You can also turn a versatile vial into an alchemical item that you know the formula for that lasts until the end of your turn. So it's like, if you need an elixir of life real fast, like quick alchemy, have an elixir of life, drink it, splash it on someone, whatever. So those are going to see a ton of use. The infused reagents do cover a lot of things that you know you're going to need in a day, but maybe that you're not going to be using every single turn. So mutagens, healing items, buffs, things like that.
Yeah, so to compare it to mechanics that are going to be a lot more comfortable, it almost feels like at this point, like your versatile vial and the uses of it are very cantrippy. They're always going to be available to you in combat, unless it's especially long-lived combat at early levels, or if you're going from combat to combat and you're not getting an opportunity for them to recharge. And then your infused items that you create at the beginning of the day, a little bit like your leveled spell slots that, you only have so many of these to get you through the day. Choose carefully when and how you use them.
Yeah.
Another really big thing that changed, they improved the Alchemist weapon proficiency progression. So instead of going up to expert, you now go up to master like most martial characters do, which means you will be able to keep up with other characters using your bombs. Like a fighter is still going to be more accurate than you because fighters are more accurate than everyone, but like any other random martial, you're going to be on par, which means bombers, mutagenists, you are actually going to be able to hit things reliably in combat finally.
Oh, good.
Feels nice.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
huge improvement.
Would you say that this overall is an improvement for the Alchemist, the whole rework? And would you say they're in a good place now?
Yeah, I think so. The one thing I would have liked to see is automatic progression in crafting proficiency. Generally, when a class is completely dependent on a skill, you get that automatic progression. Like the Thaumaturge always automatically progresses monster lore. We'll get to this later when the Swashbuckler gets it, but they get some automatic skill progression.
I think the reason they didn't do that is, again, Paizo's aversion to making crafting too powerful, because they still have PTSD from Pathfinder 1 where it was it just broke the game. They've been pretty keyed in on restricting crafting. So I think if you're a DM and you don't really care about crafting breaking the game as much, there are ways that you can just make crafting more accessible and just allow them to have this automatic progression. I will say you do get a skill increase every 2 levels, so it's not a huge deal.
Personally, I think it's annoying that something so core to the class isn't just given to you. Like you're essentially taxed half of your skill, a third of your skill increases for your entire career to be good at the thing that your class does. But technically, you could play an alchemist and never once use crafting to craft a permanent item. It is technically possible.
I don't know why you would do that.
Exactly.
But yeah, if you're a DM, I would say just give them automatic. Just look at how Thaumaturge, when Thaumaturge gets their monster lore increase, and just say, that's when you're getting it. So.
All right, are we ready for Barbarian?
Let's do it.
Okay, so Barbarian didn't see a ton of changes. Really didn't have a lot of problems, in my opinion. I really liked where Barbarian was. Like in 5e, it's high risk, high reward. Like you're going to go in, you're going to hit things really hard, you're going to do a ton of damage, but in exchange, you're very easy to hit. So prolonged fights, very bad for a Barbarian. Maybe the most annoying thing about the Barbarian is the first thing you do in combat, the very first action you spend in essentially every encounter is rage. One action, rage. Every other martial character is first action, get into melee or whatever, but you have to rage. And also Barbarians, again, like 5e, almost completely locked into melee because almost all of your features only apply to melee attacks. So Barbarians have that very specific niche of the high damage, high risk melee striker. The rage gives you an armor penalty. So even if you're doing a pretty good job keeping your armor maintained, keeping your AC decently high, you still have that penalty. So you're still more likely to get hit than comparable martial characters.
Yeah, I mean, that's impossible to fix though, right? You're always going to have that rage tax. There's nothing that you could possibly do about it.
No.
You think so now?
Mm-hmm.
They did it. Yeah. Rage is no longer required. Rage is a free action whenever you roll initiative now.
Yep.
So you automatically get the quick-tempered feat.
Yep.
I love that description.
It's not even a feat. It's a feature. You get it at level 1 automatically. You may go your entire career as a barbarian and never actually spend an action to rage.
Yeah. Actually, it was interesting to me. What would the situation be where you would have to use an action to rage?
Yeah. If you were knocked unconscious, your rage ends.
So if somebody woke you up in combat, you'd have to spend an action to get angry again.
Yeah, so that tax still exists, but once you start combat, you immediately get to rage. Which, oh god, that's gonna be interesting for giant barbarians because giant barbarians, as part of their rage action, can get big. So it's just immediately initiative starts. I'm huge now.
Yeah. It's just like a puffer fish, somebody startles you, you rage instinctively. I don't fit. I'm stuck in a door.
I love the idea. Yeah, that's exactly what happens, right? And then the bad guy that you were about to fight is just immediately I yield, combat's over.
I do like the idea of a pufferfish kind of person from SpongeBob being being a barbarian, you touch it, just like,
oh my gosh, we got that fish person ancestry in Howl of the Wild.
There you go. You
something.
You can just make Miss Puff a barbarian.
That's beautiful, and I love it. All right. Okay, so we got that. Rage also no longer comes with the -1 AC penalty, which honestly, I don't think they needed to change that.
Weren't you just complaining about it?
Well, no, okay, it is one of the limitations. I didn't say it was a problem. Like, rage, it's high risk, high reward. You rage, you get a bunch of extra damage, you get some temporary hit points to keep you alive, but you take that -1 penalty, so you're a little more likely to be hit. So it's that high risk, high reward barbarian fantasy. Taking out the AC penalty, it's all reward.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
No regrets.
I get it. I'm kind of with Tyler. I like the fantasy, but I get that this is going to make people happier. So it's whatever.
Yeah. Well, right. If 5% more likely to be hit, 5% more likely to be crit.
Yeah.
And now that's gone. They could have kept it. It wouldn't have been a big deal. I guess another change worth pointing out, if folks remember from our discussion of the monster core, we have new dragons in Pathfinder. Yeah. So the dragon table is completely different. It's no longer looks anything like what we remember from D&D 5e in particular. And so with that, right, one of our instincts was the dragon instinct. That had to change completely. So the dragon instinct table is completely different, aligned with the new monster core dragons.
Yeah. So just to remind people, that's Adamantine, Conspirator, Diabolic, Imperial, Fortune, Horned, Mirage, and Omen.
Yeah. And each of those are aligned with the 4 schools of magic in PF2.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dragons are cool.
Yep.
PF2 dragons are real cool. I like them.
Barbarians also got one more new feature, Furious Footfalls. They get a +5 bonus to their speed, +10 when they're raging. So just like,
always.
Yeah, little easier to get around, little easier to get into melee. Like, that's a nice quality of life improvement for a class that they're not going to ride a horse, most likely.
I mean, that is a really big change, though, right? So it went from, like, you had the rage tax, and then you'd spend your second action to get into melee range, except for they were a little bit too far away, so you couldn't quite get there, to now, all of a sudden, free rage. And in my first movement action on my turn, I get to move an extra 10 feet. That's great.
Yeah, exactly.
So are barbarians still melee focused? Are they still locked into melee?
Almost exclusively. They do have a feat that lets them apply their rage bonus to thrown weapon attacks. I think that was already there in the original PF2 core rulebook, but the vast majority of barbarians, you're gonna be all melee.
So do we think there are any, besides the melee thing, do we think there are any more issues for barbarian that need to be worked out?
None that I can think of. I think they're in a really good design spot, personally. Fixing the action tax on rage, if that was the only change we saw in the barbarian, I would be very happy. But they gave us other cool stuff. Yeah,
no, I mean, PF2 barbarians have always been pretty rad.
Yeah.
Don't change a good thing.
Yeah.
Champion. Oh boy, this one really need a rework since it was so reliant on a system that is now dead.
Alignment. Yeah. Man, I really wasn't sure what they were going to do when they announced that they were removing alignment. I think they got it.
It honestly doesn't actually feel like that big of a change. We're going to get into it in a second, but
okay, so alignment is gone. Prior to the remaster, there was alignment damage: good damage, evil damage, lawful damage, chaotic damage. So you had those things, and they could only damage creatures of the opposite type. So if you did good damage, it could only damage evil creatures, which, when you have things like that, it creates this really weird thing where you can use alignment damage as a litmus test. Clerics had a spell that would deal alignment damage which matched the alignment of your deity. So if you had a lawful good deity, you would laser people for lawful damage and laser people for good damage, and you could use that and figure out what people's alignments were. It's are you lawful? Yes, you're fine. Are you good? You're fine.
Tell me if this hurts. Tell me if this hurts.
If they both...
You are my enemy, good sir.
Exactly.
I love the idea of it. Take it the opposite direction. I'm going to play a chaotic evil. I have a chaotic evil deity. And so I'm walking around and I'm shooting people. And, I shoot somebody with my evil damage. And they're like, oh, that hurts. I'm like, never mind. There's a good person. Let them be. They're fine.
Exactly. Very strange. All right. So what we got to replace this is sanctification. When at level 1, depending on your deity, you may be sanctified as holy, unholy, or neither. If you are sanctified holy or unholy, you add that trait to all of your strikes forever. Now, the reason that matters is a lot of creatures are vulnerable to holy or unholy damage. For example, demons, typically vulnerable to holy damage. Celestials, typically vulnerable to unholy damage. So,
also checks out.
Yeah. The famous piece, A Paladin in Hell, you go into hell as a champion sanctified holy, you're in good shape. You're going to cause some trouble.
Yeah, right up until they murder you or torture you.
One of the two. Yeah.
I will say, I know we haven't gotten to causes yet, but I do want to say I am so glad that they divorced the subclasses from alignments now. Because now if you want to play one of the quote unquote evil subclasses, you can, and you can still be a good character. You're a person who maybe has a different ideal. So for instance, the tyrant that is changed to obedience. One of my players in my Pathfinder game is playing a tyrant, but she's not evil. She's just a corporate executive, essentially. She works in human resources, and she hits.
Sure?
Yeah,
that's fair. But she's more of just she's in human resources, but she's still a kind person. She just is very strict with authority and stuff like that. So I would classify her as lawful neutral if we're going by alignment.
I buy that.
But yeah.
Well, hey, let's look at the causes real quick. We have 7 now. So people who've been around as long as I have and even longer are familiar with paladins from even pre-3rd edition paladins that weren't lawful good. Originally introduced in Dragon Magazine, they gave us a paladin for every alignment except true neutral, because if you're true neutral, you do not have the moral convictions to become a paladin. Exactly.
Sorry, that's a funny idea.
Yeah. What makes a man swear to people?
Yeah.
What makes
my
a
wife,
man
I said,
turn neutral?
Hello.
Lust for power? For gold? Or were you just born with a heart full of neutrality?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I believe the original callings don't have any of the neutral alignments, no lawful, no chaotic neutral.
That is correct. Yes. PF2, we never got lawful neutral or chaotic neutral options for the champion. And now alignment is gone, so we never will.
Yeah. And there was much rejoicing.
Looking at the now 7 that we have, I'm going to look at Grandeur and say, that's the chaotic neutral one. Completely baseless. I have nothing to base that on. But if it was going to be one of them, that one.
Not lawful neutral?
Grandeur? No, it's about being awesome.
Okay,
personally awesome.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So the 6 we already had made the transition and got a rename, but mostly kept their features identical. Anti-Paladin is inequity. Desecrator is desecration. Liberator is liberation. Paladin is justice. Redeemer is redemption. Tyrant is obedience. And then Grandeur is the new one. So half of them are just blank or to blank should.
Yeah. Well, because they're not callings anymore, they're causes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we opened with the big problem with the original PF2 champion was alignment, and it's gone. So everything's fixed now?
Kind of, yeah. The only other major change I found, Divine Ally was changed to Blessing of the Devoted. You can no longer get a cool horse from it.
Boo.
Yeah, but it said you can choose a plus 5 speed bonus.
You know what that isn't? That's not a horse.
That's not a horse.
Yeah.
You can get a horse from a level 1 feat, though.
I'm with Steph, but horse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you can get it from a level 1 feat. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Can I get it for free if I'm a champion?
Not for free. It's one of the class feats.
Tyler, can I have it for free?
No.
Can you have it for... Look, we'll do free archetype, and you can take the Beastmaster archetype, and you can get yourself an entire animal companion for free.
I do want to say it is quite funny how we flipped the script on the changes in 2024, where Paladins now baseline get a steed, and everybody's just super underwhelmed about it. Okay. And then Pathfinder 2, they took away the steed, and everybody was like, "Where's my steed?
Yeah.
Give me my horse! How dare you?"
The problem is the steeds in PF2 are good. The mounted combat rules work.
They cost us so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah, mounted combat is much better in Pathfinder 2 than it is in 5e because, there's actually effort put into it.
In 5e, they basically said, here's a useless horse.
Yeah.
that you can't bring into dungeons with you unless you are a halfling on a pug.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to point to chat because Steph has entered #give Randall a pony. And I wanted to display that in the video feed, but Riverside took that feature away and now I'm sad.
Boom. This is worse than that time Pathfinder 2 took away my pony. All right. Do we want to talk about the investigator?
Let's do it.
No,
Okay.
honestly.
Okay. All right. Do we want to talk about the monk?
I'm guessing you don't like investigator?
Okay. When the Advanced Player's Guide released and when I wrote optimization content, I have been perfectly consistent in my criticism of the investigator since it became a thing in PF2. My biggest problem with the investigator is that it adds a separate game to the game that the GM is forced to play badly, that none of the other players get to participate in, and that objectively slows down the game and makes it more frustrating for everyone at the table except the investigator.
Yeah.
It's-
Tonight.
What feature exactly? The pursue a lead?
Yeah, like the central feature of the class. It is as bad as hacking in Shadow.
I disagree. I don't
Okay.
think it bogs down the game as much as people say it does. I mean, it's just you have to come to an understanding with your investigator where it's like, hey, if there's a clue here, I'm just going to tell you there's a clue. Rather than if I don't tell, oh, there you go. Perfect. We got #give Randall a pony as a imposition on the screen. Thanks,
I
Steph.
don't know how you did it, but well done, Steph.
Thanks, Steph. I hate it. But yeah, the deal I have with investigators is like, if there's something related to your investigation, I will tell you in this room. Otherwise, if I don't say anything, assume
He's
there's
not
not
asking.
a thing in here. Yeah,
Yeah.
assume there's not a thing in here. It's a very easy fix that I don't know why people are complaining about it. I mean, it does put more emphasis on you as a GM. So if you're going to do that, make sure that you're remembering to tell your investigator that, because otherwise you're kind of robbing them of an important feature. But if that's the frustrating part about it for you, I think that's a perfectly reasonable compromise.
I love the idea of this. So it's like, tonight in our Pathfinder 2 campaign, we're going to be playing Vicen.
Yeah, that's about right.
Scooby-Doo, there's a mystery to solve. What you're describing.
Maybe it's because I also just have a soft spot for the investigator playstyle and archetype. I just like that kind of stuff, and I build stories around it because it's cool. Like I had an investigator. When investigator joined my Pathfinder 2 game, I immediately had a murder investigation in the pipeline for them, and everybody was having a great time. So
Okay.
And I will say, like, this podcast, we gravitate towards the kind of TTRPG that is dungeon fantasy. And that's usually what we find ourselves talking about a lot. Honestly, both as a GM and a player, I would equally, I don't want to say more likely, I would equally love to play a game that is like court espionage around a king or a kingdom, or like our party is a group of the city guard and there's a sequence of murders and we have to find out what's happening, and that's the unraveling campaign, is some evil conspiracy in my city. That would be amazing to me. But what do? We tend to, it's like, oh look, there's like a hole in the ground, let's go see what's in this cave. Oh look, a massive tunnels, let's go. In that kind of game, I feel like the investigator would be a ton of fun, even kind of central to the story, to let everyone else support unraveling the mystery that is our campaign.
yeah, I think this is just a clear. The investigator it should probably be, if I'm being honest, be an uncommon class, similar to gunslinger and inventor, because the investigator really only is fun and works in a specific type of game. So if you're playing like a dungeon delving sort of game, investigator is not going to be fun. It's going to slow down the game. And if the plot's straightforward, again, the same thing's going to happen. But the reason why I think investigator worked well in the campaign that I ran for the player is my whole campaign is about unraveling a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy. There's a mystery and stuff. And that's the investigator's jam right there.
Yeah.
That's where they excel. Political intrigue, murder mystery, conspiracy. People are going to love not only is your investigator going to have a great time, your players will love having an investigator because they'll be able to work through that stuff. But I agree. I think the issue is that the investigator, it's not communicated that check with your GM beforehand to see that this style of play is going to work well in this game, because it's it might not. I disagree that with what Rocco said. I think
you
that
have to
they're
read
better.
it off for the audio folks.
Yeah, so the investigator has the ranger problem. Your class features allow you to bypass the class fantasy by automatically winning at a mystery. I don't agree. I get what you're getting at, but again, like, maybe it was just the way I ran it. I don't know if it's intended that way, but it seemed to work just fine. The investigator still had to investigate, because it's different when you're doing a mystery than when you're doing survival.
But the analogy that's being made, just to make sure I understand it, right? If we take the ranger, like, some folks in their campaign engage in the survival fantasy, or the like, hey, we're going to cross all of this terrain and we're going to find whatever we're finding, we're going to keep going. If you're engaging in those parts of the game, then playing a ranger is meaningful, but also makes all of those things meaningless. And then similarly, if you're engaging in mystery in your game, playing an investigator is a meaningful choice because it makes solving the mysteries easier, but it also makes solving the mysteries easier and therefore invalidates the mystery in your game.
I
You disagree with the premise.
I fundamentally disagree. Again, like, I think it makes it easier. I don't think it solves the problem. Like, I've run both. I've run a survival game with a ranger, and I've run a mystery game with an investigator. The ranger, yes, I agree. The ranger completely nullifies the idea of survival, which is why you can't play baseline ranger in a survival game. You have to tweak it. Investigator, I don't think you have to tweak it all that much. Again, maybe I ran it wrong, and maybe the player didn't know their features well enough, but it worked really well in the game where I ran a mystery. Like, I didn't feel like the investigator was just immediately solving everything.
Well, I feel like where the analogy really falls over is, like, in a game where you're building it around mystery, you're expecting the character to solve some of the problems, but you are also expecting the players themselves to actually tease apart what's happening and put together the story. If we bring this to the other side of the analogy with a ranger, I've never made one of my players go outside and light a fire or find berries to eat in the woods.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, I know people have problems with the investigator, but I will die for this class because it is an archetype that I really love. I love the Sherlock Holmes stuff. I have a soft spot for investigator. It's probably one of my favorite classes in Pathfinder 2 just because of what it attempts to do. I don't know if I agree with you that it has issues, and it was better in Pathfinder 1, that's for sure. Yeah. But I still think it gets way overhated, and I think there are ways to make it fun. It just requires a certain type of GM and a player who's willing to compromise with the GM and work with that GM, and knowing when an investigator is a good addition to a game or a hindrance.
I think your suggestion to make it an uncommon class is the right thing, because I agree with you. It needs the right player, it needs the right GM, it needs the right game. Most games don't have all three of those. Mm-hmm. Let's see. I want to read a snippet of text from the new text for Pursue a Lead, because this was not there. So pursue a lead when you investigate a thing to, like, start a new investigation. It takes a minute of investigating the thing that you think might be a clue. The new text says, after the minute passes, the GM either confirms their larger mystery or tells you there's nothing more to learn, the detail is inconsequential, or you know all the information already. So in the Advanced Player's Guide version of the class, there was no guidance in the text for the GM to tell the player, there is nothing here, stop it. So the player, like, there was not an explicit feedback loop for the player to say, like, okay, there's clearly nothing here. I'm not going to waste everybody's time by like point and click adventure, click everything in the room until I find the lever that's hidden behind whatever. Now it's a little bit more explicit, like, this is how you're intended to do it. The GM is intended to communicate that there's nothing here. There's a better idea of the scope of a mystery, so you're not like, the mystery is like, who's behind this door, or the mystery is like, who is God? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm surprised that wasn't already there. I mean, okay, now I understand why you hate the class. Because if you were encountering players who are doing that, stop that. Players, you're being a bad player. You're being a problem player. So that's not a problem with the class. That's a problem with the players. Because, maybe it's more helpful for the verbiage to be there, but that is a really liberal, that's rules lawyering sort of bullcrap that I don't tolerate at my tables. If you did that stuff at my tables, I would be like, you're being a problem player, stop it. So I agree that it's good that it's here, but I disagree that that's a fundamental issue with the class that people are blaming on the class, and that's a player problem.
Yeah, well, and I think that does get to the fix that you already prescribed, though, right? Like, we go into the room, I will tell you if there is something here or not, and we'll be done with it. It's like one extreme of it versus the GM, because I think, honestly, if they're doing that, there's a bad feedback loop with the GM where it's like, well, there's nothing on top of the carpet. Like that's the thing that would drive everybody else at the table in crazy, and eventually the GM crazy too, versus having something that's flat out like, this room is clear, there's nothing here for you.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I think it's just really easy for players to fall into that trap simply because they don't know any better.
Yeah.
Like, the class hands you this big shiny button called Pursue a Lead and says, push this button at every opportunity. And the player says, well, the class told me to, so I'm just going to push this button.
Yeah.
But,
well, again, simple solution to this is if they did that, you'd say, hey, there's nothing left in this room. That's it. You could have just said that. So,
absolutely.
like, you didn't need this text to back you up. And if you're a reasonable player and not an asshole, then you would take that as, oh, the DM is telling me there's nothing here for me to find. It's not that I'm looking in the wrong place in the room. It's that there's nothing here to find. That's how I run investigations anyway, regardless of investigator, is the players don't say, I would like to search under the bed. It's, I would like to search the room. And then depending on their investigation check, I just tell them everything that's in the room that they find. So I don't know. I just,
I'm going to go ahead and say this, Ash. You are an above average DM.
Fair enough. I just feel like this is common sense. So maybe that's me. Maybe that's why I like it. But again, these aren't like huge logical leaps. I feel like if you're complaining that your player's investigating something is slowing the game down, maybe take a second and think if maybe there's a way that you can speed it up instead of having them roll an investigation check for every nook and cranny in your room. Call for one investigation check and have that apply to everything in the room. It's very simple. This isn't rocket science.
and with that, I'm going to suggest that we investigate the monk.
Yes,
let's
move on. Yeah. But, the other major change to investigators is devise a stratagem. This one I agree with. It was an action tax, kind of underwhelming. It's now a free action, so that's good. That's
not
nice.
Always. It's
still based on like if the subject could be related to your investigation, but that's the way it was previously. So yes, I agree that could cause some arguments at the table. We don't need to go too much into the rabbit hole here.
Previously, they had to be the subject of your investigation. So like if you're investigating a murder, they had to be the murderer.
Oh, okay. See, I was again, this is me just, I guess, reinterpreting things to make it better. I counted a subject of the investigation as anybody who could be involved in the investigation. So for instance,
is how it works now.
Yeah. So for instance, like my investigator was investigating a murder mystery of a cult that was worshiping a demon. And so when they were in the lair and there were a bunch of cultists that they were fighting, I was like, these guys are all part of the mystery. So you get to use it on all of them.
Yeah. Which it feels so much better.
Yeah. I can't believe wasn't how it worked previously. God. Okay. That's a good change then. I agree with that change.
Yes. All right. Monk, like Randall said, the only... Like they nerfed the archetype very, very slightly because getting Flurry of Blows from the archetype was super great. And they renamed Ki to Chi, like from Ki to Qi. That's it.
Yep. Good.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Ki was a westernized bastardization of a concept of Chi. So
which makes sense.
Yeah, that's good.
There were a couple like minor quality of life improvements. Like there was a class feat that gets you critical specialization effects with unarmed strikes. Like that's just a feature of the class now. A couple other like tiny little tweaks like that. But for the most part, like Monk was great. People loved it. So they just left it well enough alone. All right. The other one that got some big changes. Let's talk about oracles. Yeah. Ash, you have way more experience with the oracle in PF2 than I do. So what do you think here?
I think this is an improvement. The main problem that people had with oracles were your curses were really debilitating, like to a degree where it wasn't very fun. I mean, oracles in Pathfinder 1 were probably the strongest class in the entire game, outside of wizard, obviously, because wizard, but
it's like wizard, arcanist, oracle.
Yeah. Well, the problem with arcanist was it was very mad. You needed to max your intelligence and your charisma. So
True.
yeah, Arcanist, if you had good stats, was incredible. But Oracles were really easy to play. They were busted. You could make some really good Oracles. They weren't just good heal bots. Like they were incredible damage dealers and all this other stuff. They were basically on the same power level that clerics and 5e are. Like they were really good, really versatile. So they nerfed them a lot in Pathfinder 2. And the curses in Pathfinder 1 were they were noticeable, but they weren't debilitating. And they were kind of debilitating in this. They kind of tried to balance it out with benefits, but some mysteries just had really underwhelming benefits. So they've changed how curses work. Instead of having like a specific, like you have the minor, moderate, and severe curse, like you did before, now you just have a cursed bound modifier. It's like a condition. So it's like cursed bound 1, 2, or 3. And you have certain penalties based on your curse bound value. So for instance, life oracles. Now it's very simple. It's not complicated. When their curse is active, they take a status penalty to any healing that's given to them equal to their oracle level times their curse bound value. Simple. You also max out at certain levels, which I think they did before. So like you can't go to like major curse and stuff like that. But they also they divorced the bonus features you get from the mystery. So instead, you get feats called curse-bound feats that anybody can take, and you can only use them while you have the curse. And some of them are really good. They do a lot of cool stuff. Like some are free actions. There's one that already existed, but you get to add initiative to one person before. It was called Oracular. I can't remember, but it's like whenever you roll initiative, you get to pick one creature and give them a bonus to initiative. Now you get to pick a bunch of creatures and give them initiative and temporary hit points. I think you also give them temporary hit points in the first one, but it was still one character. So now it's all of them. And that was exclusive to the life oracle. Now anybody can take that. So yeah, I would say it's a lot better. The other big thing is that you can now reduce your curse value to 0, which you couldn't do before. When you were an oracle, you started at 0 curse, but as soon as you used any of your focus spells, your curse value would go to 1 and it could only ever stay at 1 at the lowest until you took a long rest. Oh, and the other big change, which I think is a great change, is your focus spells no longer increase your curse value.
Yeah, that felt way too punishing.
Yeah, it's just the curse-bound features that do that now. So if you don't take any feats that have the curse-bound trait, you don't ever get a curse. You don't ever have to deal with it. So if you hated curses, you don't have to interact with it anymore. But I think that, I think that curses in particular are much better. It sucks that I think my only complaint is that the subclasses maybe have a little bit less identity and flavor because they took the benefit away, but you still get those free revelation spells and added spells. So, that's the other thing. You get free spells now, which you didn't before. You got the revelation spells, but you didn't get like bonus spells added to your spell repertoire. And now you do, which is great. So yeah, I think Oracle's massive improvement. I think they're going to be a lot more fun for people to play.
Yeah, I totally agree. The original PF2 version of the Oracle just felt like a worse divine sorcerer, like that they just tacked on the curse mechanic and just made everything harder to play and more complicated and unpleasant.
Yeah.
The feedback I'm seeing online from folks is if you liked the first version of the PF2 Oracle, you're going to look at this and say like, it's kind of bland and I'm sad. But everyone else is going to look at the Oracle and be like, okay, I'd actually play this now.
Yeah. That is a criticism that I've seen is you either loved or you hated the Oracle. And I get it because the Oracle did have a lot of flavor with the curses because the curses were very specific and they had some weird, cool interactions and stuff like that. That's all gone. It's now just a simple value that is based off of a simple mechanic now. So if you liked the flavor of the original Oracle, I like Tyler said, it's going to make you sad. But I think it's much more of a playable class now, which I see as a positive.
Remove the MSG.
Yeah, and it's more customizable now because the curse-bound features you get, you can choose, and they're divorced from the curses. Where, like, if you liked a specific curse benefit that you got beforehand, those are a feature now that are divorced from the subclass. You can just take those now.
Yeah. All right, Sorcerer. So this is, like, honestly, I'm surprised this one didn't make it into Player Core 1, because Player Core 2 was supposed to be the more complicated classes, and Sorcerer is objectively simpler than the Wizard, so I'm honestly surprised they didn't swap those. But here it is regardless, in all of its elegant, magical simplicity.
Yeah, they didn't change much about Sorcerer. I will call out, I don't want to spend too much time on Sorcerer. A few things. One is Sorcerer's Potency, which allows you to add the spell rank to the spell's damage or healing now when you cast a spell. That's cool. Like that. It distinguishes them a bit more from wizards, so cool. And then they did change a bit of the subclasses, not majorly, like a lot of them have more versatility and viability, like Imperial, so if you're unfamiliar with sorcerers, every time you cast one of your focus spells from your bloodline, you would have a blood magic effect that you could apply to it based on your bloodline. Imperial would give you a +1 bonus to a skill check, which feels kind of underwhelming and not something you're going to use a lot, because when have you used a skill check as a sorcerer in combat? Aside from recall knowledge, I guess.
Yeah.
But now it's a +1 to AC or a +1 to a saving throw, which feels better. And a lot of that was just more choices. Draconic, they changed a lot. Now you choose your Draconic Paragon, which determines what spells you get, as well as your arcane, as well as your magic tradition. And elemental is also further divided into the 6 elements: air or fire, earth, water, metal, or wood, which also determines what spells you get.
Yeah, I think it's what Rocco's calling out in the chat. So for both the Barbarian and the Sorcerer, they both have subclasses dependent on dragons. So it makes sense that they were delayed to the Player Core 2, because we had to have the Monster Core defining the new dragons before these new subclasses made sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know that's the only reason it got delayed, but that's a good reason.
Yeah.
I would buy that, but that being said, like the Draconic Paragon that they give you doesn't actually call out any specific dragons. It's just the 4 schools. So they could have done that. Yeah, they could have done that with a...
We would have just stared at it and been like, what? Like, Draconic, but then the 4 schools of magic, why do you do that? And then the Monster Core would have come out and we all would have been like, oh.
Yeah,
I buy that.
They also added a bunch of new feats that seem to be leaning into the blood magic feature of sorcerers, because now, I don't know if this is the way, so somebody might have to correct me. I don't know if this is how it worked in the previous one, because I wasn't that familiar with sorcerer, but previously I think you could only use the blood magic feature of your chosen bloodline, but now you can choose a different blood magic feature when you use your focus spells. And so they give you more of those blood magic features from feats or stuff that works off of your blood magic. So they're leaning into that flavor a lot, which is cool.
Yeah. That's neat.
All right. Talk about Swashbuckler?
Yeah. Okay. So, Randall, we have a Swashbuckler in our game. We've seen a Swashbuckler in action in a couple of organized play games. We haven't had enough playtime with the Swashbuckler to see it hit any of the fundamental issues with the class, but they are there. So the Swashbuckler depends heavily in combat on their panache mechanic. It's basically their I am ready to do something cool status. And in combat, the Swashbuckler loop is get panache, do cool stuff, spend panache, do cool stuff to get panache back. Repeat. The primary way you got that was the tumble through action, which is acrobatics based. Basically, you do a somersault through somebody's space, you get panache. But the problem with that is the DC for tumble through is based on I think it's the reflex DC of the target creature.
Yeah.
So if you're fighting high dexterity enemies, if you're fighting enemies that are higher level than you, it's really, really difficult to get panache. So in fights where you need panache the most, it's harder to get. In fights where panache is less important, you're going to have it all the time. So it created this really, really difficult situation. There are other ways to get panache, like essentially you do something improvisational and neat, and the GM can say, yes, that was cool, but they're supposed to make you make a hard DC skill check, which you're going to succeed on like a 14 or higher typically.
Yeah.
Like on the D20. So pretty good chance of failure. So getting panache is consistently difficult in all but like the most mundane of situations.
Well, and then certain subclasses also give you additional options for getting panache, right? Like I forget which one it was, but you could feint. And so now deceiving you, and if I can successfully deceive you, then I've gained panache and I can come in with it. But I take your point. Then there's going to be certain creatures that you're not likely to deceive them.
Exactly.
And so if you encounter a dexterous, observant creature. What now?
Yeah.
First off, that's interesting. I have a swashbuckler in one of my games as well, and I didn't realize that I needed to call for a DC when they did something cool. If they just did something cool, I was like, "You get a panache point," because that was cool.
Well, I think it was vaguely. I think it was vaguely written that way, though. That you at your GM's discretion, and your discretion was hell yeah.
Yeah, no, like jumping from a second story to somersault into on top of the bad guy. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna give you that panache. It is fun. Just to go hop in the Wayback Machine to talk about how swashbucklers worked in Pathfinder 1. Panache was a pool that you had. So those who are familiar with Matt Mercer's, the Matt Mercer's gunslinger class, it's kind of the same with grip points and stuff, where you had a pool that you could then spend on certain feats that you got, that you had, and you only got panache points back if you critically hit a creature or if you killed a creature. Similar to in Matt Mercer's gunslinger class, where if you critically hit or you kill a creature, you get a grip point back. So that was basically how you got panache back. And so panache was less of a loop and less of an issue. So I'm not sure why they got rid of that, especially with Pathfinder 2's emphasis on critting more often. Didn't feel like it was a system that needed to be fixed, honestly.
I think it was just because it's not something you can control. Like, the best you can do there is just attack more, and you don't really have the ability to go out of your way to get more panache.
Right, but I played a swashbuckler in Pathfinder 1, and I will say I never ran out of panache points, because you get so many of them, and it's really easy to get them back. There were other things you could do besides critting. I forget what it is, but there were other ways you could get panache points back.
I honestly feel like in the game design, right? Attacking 3 times in a row sucks. The multi-attack penalty, taking -8 because you're probably using agile weapon.
Yeah.
-8 sucks. So I feel like the conceit of the swashbuckler, that's the phrase, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the conceit of the swashbuckler is I'm going to use one of my actions to just do something else and charge my superpower. Yeah. And ideally that's going to succeed. And then I'm still going to attack once. And then I'm going to attack once with a multi-attack penalty, probably doing a finisher, having a high likelihood of dealing a lot of extra damage. And if I'm feeling really uppity, maybe I do the thing, okay, that didn't work out. I'm going to do a second thing to try to get panache. And then if that succeeds, then I'm just going to do my finisher and I'm still going to deal a ton of damage and it's going to feel really good. The problem that we're having with our level 1 swashbuckler right now is when you fail to gain panache, feels bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does.
And when you miss on your finishers, where it's like, oh, I was going to get to deal 2d6 damage, and now I missed, and I basically just get to spend half of that. Kind of feels good because you're dealing damage on a miss. Also, still sucks.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. All right, so let's talk about things that they changed. So that hard DC skill check that I mentioned, they changed that to now the suggestion is you need to have them make a skill check against a non-trivial DC, which is vaguely defined. Non-trivial is not a difficulty step. So
it's up to the DM. Well, by non-trivial, trivial is an actual difficulty step.
I thought it was easy. I guess trivial is the bottom one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the very bottom one.
Okay.
It's like a minus. It's like a -10 to the DC is what trivial is. So yeah, I know that we complain about DM fiat and stuff. I think this is one where I'm glad that they put it in the DM's hands, because it's just sort of, it leaves it up to the DM to decide what the DC is. And so if you have a complaint about the DM messing up your panache, you can blame it on the DM.
I mean, just advice for GMs. Don't take away panache completely from your players. It will make them miserable. And for players out there, session 0, talk through how you're going to work this out. Because it makes sense for you to sometimes fail to get panache. Makes perfect sense. On the flip side, you need it to make the class work. You're going to be miserable if you're failing half the time.
Yeah. All right. In addition to that, so there's a whole bunch of new ways to get panache. So they introduced the bravado trait, which is on a bunch of different actions, and your subclass will add it to more actions. Whenever you take a bravado action, if you succeed, you gain panache. If you fail, you also gain panache, but the panache expires at the end of your next turn. But if you're going to use it for a finisher anyway, who cares? You have panache even though you failed.
Wasn't going to keep it that long anyway.
Yeah. So just, there's so many more ways you can get bravado now than just like the 3-ish options that you had before. Like level 3, I'm forgetting the feature, something opportune riposte. If a creature critically fails on a strike against you, as a reaction, you can strike them, and it has the bravado action. So if you hit, you gain panache. If you miss, you still gain panache, but it expires at the end of your next turn. But again, who cares? You have panache. You're about to spend it on a finisher. So the get and spend loop, much simpler, much faster. On top of that, panache gave you in combat, you got circumstance bonuses to skill checks that would give you panache. So like that was there to try and help make things a little easier, but you didn't get those outside of combat because you don't have panache outside of combat. Now you just get those bonuses for free statically with bravado action. So like any cool bravado stuff that a swashbuckler is going to be doing all the time, you have a consistent +1 or +2 depending on your level, just all the time. It's really nice.
Feels nice. Yeah, I'm into it. And that's fun. Like that is 100%. Like if I want to dance, I'm going to jump on top of this bar top and I'm going to dance a jig and I'm going to do this great performance, get everybody excited. I'm a swashbuckler. That's exactly what I do. If I'm going to stab my knife into the sail and like skid down to the deck on the ship that I just, commandeered, that's what I'm going to do. I'm a swashbuckler. Give me my bonus.
My one concern with this, not to be a party pooper, is if panache, if you are able to get panache even on a failure, why would you ever improv a cool thing?
Because sometimes you want to do something cool that's not specifically covered by the rules.
I mean, you could do something cool, but I'm just struggling to be like, okay, my question then is, do we even need the DCs anymore for the GM to come up with if you're just going to get panache regardless of what you roll?
That is reasonable. I'm pretty sure on a critical failure, you don't get panache.
So then it's just roll to see if you don't crit fail.
Yeah.
Well, I do. I think I'll go look in a second and I'll pop back up in a moment to say whether it's true or not. I'm pretty sure prior to the remaster, there were certain things that you did where whether or not you succeeded, you still got panache.
Maybe there might have been specific feats. I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
I'm going to go look. I'll come back. I was giving my player panache when they did something cool anyway, so it's not a big deal for me. But I'm just wondering, why don't we just get rid of the suggested DC stuff if they're just going to get panache anyway, and there's no benefit for keeping it longer? So
I mean, the benefits of panache, like you get a speed bonus, you get small precision damage bonus to your strikes. Like there are some benefits, but realistically that might apply for like 1 or 2 actions, and then you're going to take a finisher most likely because that huge damage spike is super impactful.
Gotcha. So are we going to get more remastered content, or are we done?
Okay, so 2 things. One, that conversation I had with the head of rules, he told me, yes, they are working on more remaster content. That morning, Guns and Gears Remastered had accidentally leaked in the subscription program. Like, here's the email saying, like, you guys are going to get Guns and Gears Remastered as part of the Pathfinder book subscription thing. Like, that wasn't supposed to go out for several months. So that's 100% coming. The information is out there. They want to remaster an unspecified amount of their pre-remaster content because they want third-party creators to be able to continue using it under the Orc license. Like, they just had to update all of their licenses, which people are finding very restrictive, but they had to do that to make sure WotC has absolutely no room to sue them. But that means that pre-remaster content is very hard to use. Like, I specifically asked, like, what about the Megas? And I kind of got like a wink and a nod response. Like I said, I'm really excited to see what you guys would do with a remastered Megas. And he gave me kind of a smirk and said, hey, me too. It's like, all right.
Yeah, remaster the Megas.
Yeah.
What classes do they have left that was pre-remaster? Was Kineticist post or pre-remaster?
Technically, it's remaster compatible.
Okay, what about Psychic?
Psychic, Thaumaturge, Summoner, Megas, those all still need to be updated.
Okay, yeah. Then they'll definitely... Those are all popular classes, so it would be crazy if they didn't remaster those. But I'm glad that they're remastering Guns and Gears, because Gunslinger needs a remaster.
Yeah. Apparently, it is one of their best-selling non-core books, so it makes sense that they went there first.
People like Gunslingers, and people like the Inventor. The Inventor's still probably one of the coolest classes that Pathfinder has ever come up with. I love the Inventor. It does need some help, though. I just love it for flavor.
Yeah, it'll be great. Give it a little bit of a scrub, though.
Yeah.
I just want to drive around in a mecha in Pathfinder.
which I think you can do. I mean,
As an inventor, yeah.
You can. Yeah, one of the things that I love about it, and I was talking about this previously, was I can actually make my Triss character that I was trying to do for the Artificer, who her whole thing is she has a sentient automaton that follows around with her, and she can get inside of it when she wants to because she's so weak and powerless. Which I love that that's a thing, and it's cool.
Yeah. All right. So we have the Player Core 2. It is in front of us now. We're, taking our Advanced Player's Guide. We're throwing it over our shoulder, or are we clinging to it instead?
I think it's pretty good. Yeah. I think all of the improvements were needed. Nothing here where I'm just like, no, why? Why'd you change that? I mean, if the one thing that I would say is if you're a previous Oracle lover, you're going to probably hate the changes to Oracle, which is fair. But I honestly think it just makes the class more playable, even if some of the flavor is gone. And I would rather the class be fun to play than it be flavorful. But I know that's weird coming out of my mouth. But yeah, I think this is overall pretty good. Didn't change what needed to be changed, but still added some changes to pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Which is nice to see. Watsy, you could learn a thing or two.
God, yeah. Yeah, I agree with you entirely, Ashley. You summed it up perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice quality of life improvements. Nothing that was super, super disappointing. A couple things that you look at and you're like, I don't know if you had to do that, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah. I like supporting Paizo. I'm a big Paizo simp at this point.
I love the sketchbook covers.
Oh yeah, those are
They're
gorgeous.
so awesome.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll have links in the show notes if you're thinking it's like, oh, I want to get my hands on one. It's like, oh, okay. For the local game store, maybe. Yeah. Okay.
All hail the Leisure Illuminati.
Hey,
what?
I'm doing it now. This is my outro. You said it was my outro. You told me last time that I get to do it. So you sit down and be quiet, sir.
I don't know what all that.
I'm Ash Eli. You can follow me on Twitter at Graven Ashes. Or if you want to hire me to run a Pathfinder 2 game, I'm going to try to bring in the remasters as soon as they're available on Foundry. So that'll be cool. You can follow me on startplaying.games.
I'm Tyler Campsha. You'll find me on RPGBOT.net, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, RPGBOT.Net, most other socials as RPGBot.
And I'm Ash Eli. You can find me on the internet running games. If you want me to run games for you, there's a link in the show notes right now. You can click it. Sometimes I'm on YouTube where I do the videos and I talk about things. You could watch those videos and you could put in the comments what you think about the things that I'm saying about those things.
I too am Ash Eli on this blessed day.
I'm Randall James. You can find me on amateurjack.com and on Twitter at amateur@jackamateur. Is that right?
There you go.
Amateur. The other one's dangerous.
Yeah, no, I know. At Jack Amateur. Yeah.
The chat's getting in on it too. The chat is now also Ash Eli.
Steph, I'm offended. You misspelled my last name. It's Y, not I. Everybody gets it wrong. I thought we were friends. I thought
how can you be offended if everybody gets it wrong?
In their defense, we never write it down.
I know. If you've enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on Apple Podcast and rate us on Spotify or your favorite podcast app. It's a quick, free way to support the podcast and helps us to reach new listeners. You can find links in the show notes. You'll find affiliate links for source books and other material linked in the show notes, as well as on RPGBOT.net. Following these links helps us to make this show happen every week. If your question should be the question of the week next week, please email us at podcast@rpgbot.net or message us on Twitter at RPGBOT.Net. Please also consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can find all kinds of great rewards. At any tier, you'll get early access to RPGBOT content and polls for future content. At our $3 tier, you'll enjoy your choice of ad-free access to RPGBOT.net or ad-free podcast episodes and access to live-stream podcast recordings. At our $5 tiers and above, you'll get all of that plus access to the RPGBOT.Discord. You can find us at patreon.com/RPGBOT.
Man, you were really killing it with like the Rodney Dangerfield impression early on in that, and then it just kind of faded as you went. Like, why'd you bail? It was great.
I was trying to impersonate you, but I guess I didn't do it very well.
It's like I was waiting for you to say you can't get no respect.
I get no respect. No respect.
Is this the day that we find out that Randall has been doing a Rodney Dangerfield impression for the entire time we've known him?
It wouldn't surprise
my entire life, yeah.
Hey, everybody, we're going to get laid.
Sure. This is a family-friendly podcast.
No, we're going to Hawaii. We're going to do an episode when we get off the plane. I saved it, don't worry.
I forgot that Rodney Dangerfield was in Caddyshack. That is wild.
Yeah.
Of all of the movies I've ever seen, that was one of them.
It was definitely one of them.
We watched the first 2/3 of it together at one point. If that's the only time that you've ever seen it, you haven't actually finished it then.
That's true. Okay.
That movie exists like a fever dream in my mind.
Yeah.
It's
That
such a
movie
weird
exists like
movie.
a fever dream in reality.
Yeah.
It's like, it's still Bill Murray was there at some point and it got weird.
Yeah, he has this weird relationship with a gopher. And then Chevy Chase was in it. Yeah, Chevy Chase was in it, and he was a mentor to a kid.
He was like a weird...
Yeah, Chevy Chase should not be a mentor to anybody.
he was a weird, like... Okay.
No.
In business speak, like, he'd be a guru you'd call in for, like, counseling, that sort of thing. But, like, just, he was like a weird mystic. It's like, you know, I putt barefoot. That way I can, you know, I want to feel the ground as I... Like, that sort of thing. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
I still meet those people today, and they make me sad.
The thing I remember was not liking the forgettable protagonist of that, who wasn't Chevy Chase. It was like some kid. He cheated on his girlfriend, so he was a jerk.
We didn't get to that part of the movie yet.
Spoilers.
Anyway, spoilers for what, a 40-year-old movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I think we did it.